I know that I was the one that said I didn't think Marching Fire was going to magically bring the game back to life and suddenly turn it into this masterpiece. And to be clear, it didn't. But it really did make the game more enjoyable to play again. The graphical improvements are noticeable, the Wulin heroes all made an impact, and Breach feels satisfying to play, not only because it's different, but because of the XP. So today I want to talk about Marching Fire as a whole and give my thoughts on it, starting with Breach. Let me start off by saying that Breach is a great game mode. I enjoy playing it, mainly because it's a nice change of pace from the other game modes, and it gives a fair amount of XP, but I will admit I would much rather play as a defender over an attacker over the course of 20 to 30 minutes, because defenders not only have it easier, but also because if you're stomping the opposing team, the game ends a lot faster. Whereas on the offensive side, you have to break 2 gates and kill the commander, regardless of how well you're doing. The only real problems I have with Breach is the respawn time, which is understandable. Your lives should matter, I'm just impatient, and the advantage the defensive team has if you're playing regular old matchmaking for right now. I'm sure that as players get used to the mode and learn how to play the attacking side, that things will be a lot better. But if I'm playing alone and end up on the attacking team, I usually get players who just want to fight rather than play the objective. And I mean, that works on defense. If you have a bunch of teammates who want to just run around and fight people, feel free. Just try to get executions and run the attacker's respawn tickets down. At least it's achieving something. Whereas on offense, if you have 2 teammates who just want to fight, they're going to run into groups and waste tickets. I also think that people just don't care for the objective. I'm not even sure that most people know that the ram moves faster when you're next to it after you clear pikemen, with the way people just run around it, or how valuable the shield flag is. You can literally destroy a gate with someone escorting it in the same time it takes for the ram to even dock at the first gate without someone escorting it. When I'm playing with someone else though, I have a lot more fun, since I'm not trying to defend the cauldron or grab archer lanes by myself. I have been enjoying the game mode. Right now, I play it more than Duel and Brawl, and it will probably stay that way for a few weeks. I'm not a fan of the pikemen though. I understand that they're not supposed to be some chumps or fodder, but they are annoying and make team fights a lot more chaotic, especially with the unbelievable amount of crowd control and unblockables you have to deal with while in group fights, now that Zhang Jun, Tiandi, Nusha, and Shaolin are in the mix. I don't know if it's just me, but attack indicators have been basically completely worthless in team fights since Marching Fire started. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it looks like indicators are just invisible. You'll see 2 unblockables coming your way, and sometimes the indicator will just be blank and you're not sure which one you're supposed to parry first. I would like to see the pikeman's damage drop just a little bit, because right now a single pikeman poses more of a threat than Shugoki does, but other than that, I think the game mode is fun to play and definitely won't die off like Tribute did. I feel that as players get better at the mode, the matches will get more intense, although I feel there will always be a slight advantage on the defender side. I'd love for Ubi to continue working on Breach, adding new maps with different objectives and whatnot, to spice the mode up. I still don't think Breach will revive For Honor's competitive scene. As I've said, I think that ship has sailed. I don't think the length of matches really matter in that sense, but the game itself still isn't ready, and I don't think it ever will be. Now onto the heroes. I want to be clear that these are first impressions. We've gotten new heroes before, and I know that it is way too early to start demanding nerfs, and I won't go too far in depth because it's too early in the Marching Fire. So I do want to start off by saying that I really do like them all. I think each of them feel unique, and each of their gimmicks, if you want to call them that, don't feel too corny. Although I think each of them are strong. Not OP or broke or anything, they're just strong heroes. I think that after a few adjustments they'll be just fine. They all are really fast and bring in more 400 millisecond attacks, so you know, it's something we just have to deal with. The only thing I can tell you is that they're here to stay. I want to start off by talking about Tiandi, who I think is the most slept on hero. And I'll admit, out of the 4 of them, I was the least excited by him when we first saw that Marching Fire was even a thing. Tiandi has surprisingly become my favorite Wulin hero to use. He's a lot of fun. He's a really good hero. He's got a great dodge when it decides to work, extremely easy to access 400 millisecond lights, great bashes, and good damage. His whole thing is yelling really loud and dodging a lot. His dodge is weird. For some reason, chain attacks can poke him out of it well into its animation, and so can wide sweeping attacks. I know that it's not supposed to dodge everything, but right now I feel that Kensei's dodge heavy does a better job at avoiding attacks. The dodge is really long, so it's really easy to get 2 fast attacks out to counter it. I think out of all the Wulin heroes, Tiandi has been the most tolerable by the community. Anyone I ask seems to never bring him up and probably forget he's even here because no one's using him, and that's a good thing. Although I think as people get better with him, that'll change. I feel that Tiandi can do exactly what Orochi can do when it comes to light attacks, and that's what bothers people about Orochi. If anything, Tiandi can get to his 400 millisecond lights easier than Orochi can, and in less predictable ways, although Tiandi's chain ends earlier. As of right now, I think Tiandi is just a great addition to the game. Xiaolin, on the other hand, I've seen a lot of complaints about him, mainly about his speed. I think my main 2 issues with him is that his sidelight does 24 damage if he triple taps you. And yeah, I get that he can go into key stance if he wants to, but I don't think that any light attack in the game should do 24 damage. And the other thing is that his teleport goes straight into an unblockable. I'm fine with a light attack, not too sure about the unblockable. I also think the cooldown on it needs to be increased. As for the kick from key stance, I have mixed feelings about it. With it being so fast, sometimes I can predict it, dodge, and still get kicked because of some wonky tracking and that the dodge has startup on it. The key stance unblockable top heavy sometimes turns midair to hit you. He can also enter key stance and kick you before you even know what's going on, which is annoying in duels, I'll admit, because you try to dodge, you see your character dodge and still get hit. Or if Xiaolin wants, he can enter key stance and bait your dodge out to get some damage. I mean, I like Xiaolin as a hero, he's great, and he's only going to get better as players learn to use him. He's fast, key stance is pretty versatile, his feats are good, and he does good damage. The only thing I want to see right now is maybe slow down the kick just a little bit and tone down the triple light damage, but only by a little bit. Zhang Jun is fun to use, although I probably won't use him much. I'm just a little underwhelmed with him. He's powerful in team fights and in 4s, his feats are great, his unblockables do a great job at forcing reactions, and they do really good damage. He's also got some extremely strong punishes. I think his heavy parry punish guarantees 28 damage, and his stamina recovery and Sifu stance is great since he blows through stamina. In a 1v1 situation, he's not the greatest, especially compared to the other Wulin heroes. Maybe that'll change as we move along, but I think he's in a good spot. His animations do look a little strange sometimes because he moves so fast, and it feels like his attacks hit me even if they appear to whiff, but as long as I don't get too parry happy or anything, JJ isn't that bad to deal with. Now Nusha is fine to me. It's sort of 50-50 in terms of how the community as a whole feels about her. I personally don't have too many problems with her after I've accepted that I have to guess where her lights are going to come from. The trap isn't all too bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be at first. It's not as fast as I thought, and I found myself switching my guard away from her traps without really thinking about it after a while, but I still get hit by the follow-up light half the time. I'm not a huge fan of the mechanic though. I understand why it's here, I just wish that she had something else. I don't know whose bright idea it was to have her deflect be blockable though. It just doesn't seem right, considering literally every other hero in the game gets guaranteed damage from a deflect. I like Nusha, but out of all the Marching Fire heroes, I think I'll use her the least. I think that she relies a little too much on light attacks to get damage, and that's just not fun for me. All 4 of the Marching Fire heroes are pretty fast, and I've just came to accept that For Honor is going to keep heading in this direction, and it's not the worst thing in the world. And now that there are more heroes who force you to predict rather than react, hopefully more people will be more accepting of it. And because I know that it'll show up anytime I mention 400 millisecond lights, no, you cannot react to them on PC either. I've been saying that I don't like 400 millisecond lights at all. It promotes brain dead behavior, and with health pools being so low, I'd rather see heroes have more soft feints added to their kits rather than just make everyone fast for the sake of being fast. Not only are soft feints more fun to use, they're not as bad to be hit by. I do feel that slower heroes and heroes who have trouble punishing bashes and kicks will have a tough time with the Wulin. Overall, I think the Wulin heroes are pretty balanced. I know that some people don't want to hear that, and honestly, I thought that Yubi would once again go too far with these heroes, but I think that once we learn them, we won't have much to complain about. And I know that I keep hammering that in, but I do think it's really important while talking about new heroes that we don't rush to conclusions and start demanding rebalancing a couple days after the hero's release. Now, arcade mode to me feels like it was just tacked on to fluff up the expansion pack. Biggest problem I have with it is that the rewards aren't really worth the time or headache, and I just don't have fun fighting bots. I mean, I see how it can be fun to people who just don't enjoy playing multiplayer, you know, against other real people, and those who are bored of playing player versus AI, but it's just not my type of game mode. Playing it felt a little corny, and I mean, I honestly wouldn't mind it if it was just handing out XP freely, but there's still more to see. I hope that we get a lot of cool effects and whatnot from playing in the weekly challenges, because if not, the whole game mode should have just been free to play. I know that sounds harsh, but I just don't really like it. There's also a few little things that I like. I love the addition of the new armors. Seeing them in action looks amazing. We only had to wait 8 seasons for it, but that's fine. It adds a fresh coat of paint to the game. I like the new menus, the character select, the music, and the fact that I don't have to hold A or X to select a game mode. I'm surprised that the new training modes are actually great to learn the basics of a hero, and I recommend that anyone using a new hero or just picking up the game go straight into hero tactics. I'm not going to go as far as saying that this update feels like For Honor 2 or anything, but it's done enough for now to keep me coming back and playing more than I've been. Now, I'm not sure if this feeling will last. It could just be because it's new and that we still have a lot to learn. I mean, Breach is a ton of fun, especially with a friend or two. The Wulin heroes are all fun to use, and the game does look better. There are still problems facing For Honor that still need work, and hopefully they'll be worked on soon. I think the Wulin heroes make weaker heroes look really weak in comparison, but I'm sure that since Marching Fire is here that they'll start working on the older heroes again. I'm pretty sure that Shigoki has a rework coming within the next season. Speaking of older heroes, that change to Aramusha's Infinite Chain did make him feel so much slower. Deadly Feint is good, but now it looks as though Aramusha's swords did get 5 pounds heavier. They made the changes, and I'm hoping that in about 2 weeks or so, we hear what Yubi thinks is going on with Aramusha and find out what changes they have in store. Overall, as I said, Marching Fire is a lot of fun, and we still got more content coming in 2019, so I mean the game's not going anywhere. I think that Yubi still needs to work on the game though and address its biggest problem, which is the extremely slow speed at which they work on things. It's in a much better place than it ever was. I do think that after a while though, the game will slip back into its really stale state, Breach included or not. After everyone learns how to play these heroes and learn how to play Breach, I think that I'll start playing it less again. The events and whatnot will still be enjoyable, but I think it's up to Yubi to try and keep this game feeling fresh, and constant balance patches will do that. As for console players, I feel your pain. I've only played Marching Fire on console because I refuse to spend $30 3 times to get the exact same content. In matches where Wulin heroes have 100 ping, you're not going to survive, but I hardly run into that. There have been times where I've been destroyed by someone who just throws out fast attacks, but again, I don't think this is going to change, and it's just the game we've got now. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. I just wanted to sort of get my thoughts on Marching Fire. I know I didn't talk about everything, but I didn't want to drag this video on for too long. I think Breach is the best thing to come out of the expansion, although I was talking down on it. After sinking hours and hours into it, I have a lot of fun still. It can be frustrating playing with a team who won't play the objective and just waste spawns, but I mean, it's public matchmaking, so there's nothing you can do about it. I do want to hear you guys' opinion on it though, so tell me how you feel about Marching Fire as a whole so far. Do you like it and think it saved the game, or are you not impressed? Let me know down in the comments. And as usual, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like and something new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.